These are
Alright,
mealworms.
this one is called 10,000 mealworms versus 1 watermelon.
And they're known for their ability to eat almost anything. But what if you put 10,000 mealworms on a whole watermelon? How quickly would they completely eat it and turn it to mush despite its massive size?
Yeah, I don't know, so that's why I bought 10,000 mealworms.
Yeah, this is the most nastiest thing I've ever done, but it'll also be one of...
Up a little bit. Just a little bit. You just turn the quality up.
the most satisfying things I'll ever do on the channel.
Okay, well, I got the watermelons right here, but I actually first just kind of want to put this piece of bread in here to see how quickly these mealworms will start to devour it.
So yeah, I put the bread inside, and as you could probably imagine, the mealworms wasted no time to start swarming this thing, and of course, they then started to consume it. If you pay attention to right here in specific, you can see how they just devour a massive hole right through the center of the bread. If they're doing this to the tiny piece of bread, imagine what they do to the full watermelon. Anyways, literally after only 4 hours, this bread was hollowed out with mealworms and just had holes all over it. But this is literally nothing compared to the other time lapses I'll be showing off in the video. I have tons of stuff planned, ending with the final 10,000 mealworms versus the whole watermelon. But don't think the stuff before is boring, because we're gonna be starting with leeches.
Yup, you heard that right. For the first time lapse I'll be recording, I went and bought 5 big leeches.
Yup, leeches usually live in the wild and grab onto unsuspecting prey to basically just suck the blood out of them. Well, since I have 5 of these leeches and they're in captivity, it's gonna allow me to get some insane time-lapse footage of them sucking the life out of a food object as the leeches get bigger. It should be pretty cool. And if you watch my video about keeping pet leeches, you'd know they basically like to spend all their time under the water, so that's why I'll be setting up an aquarium for this test.
And then quickly, I'm just gonna fill up this tank with this, so I can go ahead and put the leeches inside, so we can get this test started.
So yeah, I put each of these 5 leeches inside, and I put a lid on top so they didn't escape. And immediately, you can kind of just see how they all just start swimming around under the water, just sort of like how snakes do. Yeah, it's kind of weird, honestly, but once they want to stop swimming, they'll go up to the glass and just grab onto it using the end of their bodies basically as a suction cup. It's actually pretty cool. Anyways, for the food I'll be feeding these guys, it's this piece of beef liver.
Well, alright, why don't we just drop this slimy nastiness into here and see how long it takes for these leeches to get absolutely massive.
And so step 1 was to actually get the leeches to bite onto this piece of meat, which is pretty easy. You basically just pick up the piece of meat with tweezers and start bringing it up to the leeches' faces until they grab onto it. So yeah, I just went around and picked up all the leeches onto the meats. But if you couldn't tell, the water quality got super bad because of the beef liver, so I decided to actually let the leeches eat the beef liver out of the water, since in the wild, that's actually how they prefer to feast. And while a couple of the leeches kind of detached from the piece of meat and started to run away, 3 of the leeches actually did stay on it, so I could watch as they started to eat. You can literally see them contract their throats in and out as they basically use their teeth to grind the meat up, and then they suck it up like a smoothie up into their bodies. But things actually did not go to plan, because out of nowhere, this leech decided to detach from the piece of meat, and then he just started to slither away randomly. Then the other 2 leeches decided to detach too, and this guy decided to just burrow into the piece of meat, and this one just slithered away. Hey, at least we got to watch him eat for a little bit, but this is why I love time lapses. You just capture random interesting stuff like this. But even these leeches are nowhere near as interesting as the time lapse coming up later, because the time lapses get cooler as the video progresses. So that's why for our second time lapse, we're gonna be recording flesh-eating beetles.
Yes, you heard that right. Flesh-eating beetles. And they're called that because they're beetles that eat flesh. And well, let me show you why that is so cool.
Now, as you can see, there's some actual flesh-eating beetles in here, but most of the things in here are still in their larva stage, which means they're actually even more hungry than usual. And you see, these insects are cool because they can literally just eat the flesh off of animals to the point where they only leave the skeleton bones behind. So yeah, I'm gonna try and record a time lapse of that.
And I've got thousands of flesh-eating beetles in here to the point if I put my finger in there, it would probably turn into a skeleton. Actually, you know what? I wonder what would happen if I put a piece of dog food in there. Hey, I guess let me get a quick time lapse real quick.
So I put the dog food in, and oh guys, all I'll say is things are about to get interesting with these beetles. But as you could probably imagine, buying all these crazy bugs and worms is extremely expensive, and I've been needing to manage a lot of money, so that's why I'm glad today's spawn specifically for hundreds of hours of my money all I think there's no month paid up 100 for either skin simpler very long for them to start swarming this piece of dog food. You see, these are dog treats that I buy for my dog Jet, and they're made out of the top quality real beef ingredients, which of course Jet loves, but that also explains why these flesh-eating beetle larvae were also loving it. Anyways, it was pretty crazy how after just a few of these beetles latched onto the dog food, pretty much all of the beetles soon followed behind.
I got
until
food here.
literally
Come here,
this
come
piece
eat.
of dog
I got
food
food.
was literally like just not a piece of dog food anymore. This is just a living piece of flesh-eating beetle at this
Yeah,
point.
no, that's just
Yeah,
like a
there's
whole-
just so many on here.
Oh my gosh, bro, what? These guys are so hungry.
So yeah, I shook them all off because if you remember, the main reason I got these beetles is because I actually want to see if they could turn an animal into a skeleton by just eating its flesh. And I don't want them to get filled up on this, but anyways, considering this piece of dog food was only in there for like 10 minutes, the beetles made a pretty decent amount of progress by chewing a bunch of tiny little chunks out of it.
Anyways, for the main course I'm feeding these guys, I've got
Sunlight
Yeah,
is
Blossom,
a
what the
powerful
fuck?
thing. Pets know, and so does Purina. That's why 100% of Purina's
a duck head.
Oh, Doug.
Yeah, and we're gonna see if they can turn it into a white duck skull. But yeah, don't worry guys, I didn't do this to the duck. I actually just bought this at the pet store. Apparently they're dog food. Jack, can you give this a taste test? You think the flesh-eating beetles, you think they're gonna like it? Yeah, he's licking it. I think he likes it.
So since it passes the Jet taste test, I wasted no time to put this into our tank. Let's see what these bugs do. Now, immediately things were pretty interesting because many of the beetles, of course, were drawn to this nasty duck head, and pretty much all of the beetles started to gather at the base of the head. These guys were all slowly chewing away at the fur of this duck head, and it was cool because you could gradually see the group of flesh-eating beetles move up along the side of the duck head, and they were even eating it so much that they ended up knocking it over. Eventually, it was so nasty because the beetles had just completely swarmed the head and were crawling in and out different parts of it, like the hole in the beak. And after leaving this in here for a full 24 hours, you could just see how much they chewed through all the fur and just how nasty this is. But the real damage was done on the bottom of the skull, where it was completely chewed through. These are the literal bones of the duck skull, and this is just straight up so disgusting. This looks like a zombie duck head at this point.
Oh my gosh, this smells so bad, you guys don't even know. But dang, check this out. I'm actually kind of surprised this didn't just like turn a completely white skull kind of color, because I know these beetles sometimes do that, but I guess it makes sense. This is just kind of dog food, but I would call it a success. I mean, look at how destroyed this thing is. Anyways, so these guys will definitely make a very interesting addition to my pet collection.
Alrighty,
How
we're
many pets
almost
do
at
you
the final
got?
10,000 mealworms versus watermelon test. But quickly, I'm excited to show you guys time lapse number 3, which is an alien creature digging.
Yep, you know how some people set up their ant colonies in 2D ant nests to get footage of them digging out those tunnels along the glass? Well, this alien creature is actually able to do the same exact thing. Let me show you how.
Yeah, so this thing's called a vinegaroon, and this is the same one from a few videos ago on my channel. But you see, I call them an alien because, I mean, just look at them. They look extremely weird, and they have these claws at the front of their body that actually allow them to dig.
Yep, and for this guy, as you can see, I filled this tank up with a bunch of clay.
sorry,
But
I
if you
can't.
look, I actually left a hole on the side of the glass empty. That way, when I go and fill this place up with dirt, the vinegaroon won't be able to make a hole anywhere in this dirt other than that hole I made in the clay right on the side of the glass there.
Now, anyways, after getting the dirt in, I wasted no time to put the vinegaroon inside. Now, immediately, this alien creature wasn't exactly super interested in digging. He was kind of just trying to climb out. So you see, that's because there's actually a few things I have to set up in here to make this guy want to dig quickly. First of all, I put this water dish in here, and then I started to use my finger to dig out a little tunnel under the water dish. Now, when the vinegaroon comes over here, he'll find the little entrance to the burrow I made, and when he's ready to dig, he'll know where to start. So guys, I just went and set up my time-lapse camera in another room so we could observe what these creatures do when no one's watching. And yeah, during the first few hours, since it was technically still day, you can see he was very active amongst the top section, still trying to escape. But the second it hit nighttime, this dude went down to the burrow section, and he started to dig up like a straight-up drill. Nah, let's see that on an instant replay. That's actually pretty cool. You
That's
can
really
literally
cool.
see the pile of dirt up here grow as the vinegaroon digs out all the dirt from the tunnel. I think this is some of the clearest footage ever caught of these creatures digging. It's pretty cool to watch.
Well, dang, now that this guy dug this tunnel, you're probably wondering why they actually make these tunnels. Well, they actually make them to hunt. And Well, I got a cricket right in here. Let's drop this thing in.
And so after I dropped the cricket in, he started to walk around the top area, but little did he know the vinegaroon was right under his feet, waiting in the burrow for food to walk in. And a little bit later, the cricket did just that.
Oh, he
started
just walked
squeezing through
in?
the opening that was dug out the night before, and he went in deep enough to where the vinegaroon was sitting. I know it got super foggy in here when I brought it to my recording area, so it's kind of hard to see, but the vinegaroon started to attack the cricket, and he started to chase him out the burrow. The cricket tried to escape, but it was no use because the claws of the vinegaroon are just too strong. And I know you guys can't really see it well in this footage,
Oh,
but I can assure you
no.
the cricket is no
God.
longer with us, to put it lightly. Dang, that was cruel. But I'm gonna go and move this guy back to his original enclosure I built in the original video. Well, guys, it's finally time to do our final time lapses with the 10,000 mealworms.
Okay, I'm not gonna waste any time, and I'm gonna record some stuff right away. But before we do the watermelon, I actually want to start with something a lot more interesting. This thing.
Yeah, this is literally a piece of styrofoam. And you're probably wondering right now, what the heck, TerraGreen? Why are you feeding this to the worms? Well, it's because mealworms have an absolutely insane special ability, and it's actually
Really?
that they can somehow digest styrofoam.
Really?
Yeah, talk about the lamest special ability ever, but I just had to get a time
Dang,
up showing
cool.
this off. And immediately, these dudes start to completely climb all over the styrofoam, completely covering it. I don't know why mealworms are one of the only animals that can eat styrofoam. It's honestly kind of weird, and the craziest part about this time lapse is if you look right down here, you can literally see the moment when the mealworms decided to start chewing a massive hole through the side of the styrofoam. So
It's
they
in
could
like a
literally
red-
crawl
like a
inside
red
to eat
or like a
more.
brown
It's
color.
super cool. And anyways, after leaving the styrofoam in here all night, I shook off all the mealworms so we could see the damage that was done, and holy, look at this thing. First of all, that hole the mealworms shoot through the side is nasty, and it's still filled to the brim with worms. Ugh. Then just this whole top part has bite marks all over it, and this thing is probably hollowed out and just filled with worms. Nah. And yeah, if you're wondering about the other pieces of styrofoam, basically the exact same
Looks like
thing
bread.
happened to them, and they got obliterated. It's safe to say these mealworms are hungry.
Now, I think it's about time we get out the watermelon so we can do the final time lapse.
Oh shit, Gemini.
So you left Mr. Fuzzy on the plane?
Well, I think we all have.
And I got a knife here, so I can go and cut this thing up so we can reveal the nice juicy
that's-
red part.
So
That's
yeah,
too
that's
nasty
exactly
for
what I
me.
did, and I just put the watermelon straight into this tank so
That
we
is
could
way
get this
too
test
nasty.
started right away. Now, you already know, the mealworms started to, of course, climb all over the watermelons right away. Mealworms love watermelons because, of course, they're super sugary and sweet, but they're also made out of 92% water, meaning the mealworms can just get super hydrated. Now, it's so crazy because you can see how nice and bright red this watermelon is now. Well, it only took a couple hours until that bright red completely started to fade as thousands of mealworms started to climb all over the watermelon, nibbling tiny little pieces out of it. And yeah, this all happened in the time span of only 12 hours. Yeah, I literally just left this overnight.
Okay, I just checked on this for the first time since waking up, and first of all, this smells absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, it was so
But
disgusting.
look at this. This was a bright red color like 10 hours ago, but it's like completely rotting because of what these mealworms are doing to it. This is nasty, and they're making all these tiny little holes in it. Nah.
Anyways, I moved the tank to the floor to continue the rest of the time lapse. But as you can see in this footage, as I continued recording, the mealworms weren't nearly as interested in the watermelon. Pretty much none of them were even eating it anymore. I mean, it does look pretty rotten, to be honest, so I guess it would make sense to why they don't want to eat it. But yeah, I decided to just stop the time lapse since they weren't eating it anymore, and I came back 24 hours later so I could see the full results
Oh,
of what
God.
the watermelon looked like.
What the heck? This is so nasty. Is that mold growing on the watermelons? Oh my gosh.
But actually, to my surprise, when I took a look under the watermelons, there was massive holes chewed through
Yeah.
the green shell part. And like this watermelon here had so much chewed through this part. So yeah, I guess the mealworms really were eating the watermelon, but I guess it just wasn't showing up on the time lapse because it was happening under where we could see it. Dang, that's actually insane that they could eat so much.
Anyways, hopefully you guys learned something new or were
I hadn't learned
entertained by
shit.
the time lapses I showed you in this video. And about these 10,000 mealworms, well, I'm gonna have to see if I can get these donated to a pet shop or something. Anyway, since it's the last video I'm posting in 2025, I just want to give a massive special thanks to everyone that's been watching the channel this year. We've seriously grown so much, and we've
Holy shit, good, like, good for him, but like, oh man, we can watch one more, I'll probably call it a night. But let's see. Let me see. Yeah, we can watch like one more 20-minute video. Let's see. Oh, yeah.
This is the world's largest
This is
beetle,
called
and this is
Deadliest Insects vs. Finger by TerraGreen.
my finger. And in this video, I'll be putting to the test how strong these beetles really are. And I'll also be showing you the craziest centipede species, insane
centipede,
alien
what the
looking
fuck?
bugs, and so
I don't
many
like 'em.
other cool
I don't like
insects,
it.
starting with an assassin bug.
Yup,
What is assassin bug?
bugs. And if that sounds deadly, it's because they kind of are, but they also are kind of cool. Let me show you why.
So I let these assassin bugs loose into a little enclosure I built for them, and now you can get a clear look at them. What makes these creatures so cool
Can they
is
fly?
if you look here, they have this super weird sharp mouthpiece. This is called a rostrum, and using it, they can pierce into their prey, inject a special kind of digestive enzyme venom into the prey, then using the rostrum, they slurp the insides of the prey up like a smoothie. It's insane stuff. And as you can see, I have multiple of these guys because I got a special kind of species that are able to live and hunt together.
You probably see why they're called assassin bugs now. So let's feed them a cricket and document their hunting.
Now, I knew this wasn't going to last long because assassin bugs are some of the best hunters out there. And I was right, because immediately this unlucky cricket happened to climb up the very piece of bark that all the assassin bugs were hiding under. And one of them was on the lookout and instantly spotted the cricket. Now it was time to hunt. Like real assassins who move super stealthily, assassin bugs do the same exact thing. And this guy extremely slowly inched towards his target, and as the gap slowly closed, the assassin waited for the perfect opportunity to pounce onto the cricket, who was now in the grasp
Soon we'll be telling the
He
whole
grabbed
city
that
how
motherfucker.
Mutual customizes car insurance to save people
this.
hundreds.
of the
Look how he has him. You're not going nowhere, my dude, but look how he has him.
assassin bug. Right away, you can see the rostrum pierce into the cricket, and yeah, the inside of this cricket is now being turned into a juicy smoothie for this assassin bug to slurp up. Yep. Sounds yummy.
All right, let me get this
Sounds
lid on.
yummy.
I don't want these guys biting me in my sleep or anything.
Okay, the next insect species is one I've been holding off on getting for a while, but
Centipede.
it's a centipede.
Yep, I finally got one, even though they're all extremely venomous. But oh boy, let me show you this guy.
Yeah, I didn't get a small one either. I got one of the largest species in the United
Oh,
States.
you
a
crazy
giant
motherfucker.
Texas red-headed centipede.
Oh,
and as
no.
you can tell, these guys are pretty.
I'm not going to Australia no more. I don't care if I'm not in Australia. I'm not going. I can't.
Because right away he started to try and climb the sides of the container to escape, which I definitely wouldn't want because, well, we all know the infamous Coyote Peterson who gets stung and bit by everything. Well, he got bit by a very similar centipede to this, and yeah, based off his reaction, you could probably tell it's something I want to try and avoid, probably.
Just cut the cameras. But it's definitely worth the risk because I get to show you guys how insane of a pet they are. Let me get them in this enclosure.
Now, these guys usually live in desert environments, so we're going to use a bit of sand for this enclosure, but also a solid mix of dirt and other natural stuff because it's actually what gives them the best conditions in their enclosure. Then we want to give this guy some nice natural stuff to hide under, and finally a couple skulls in here to signify how deadly these guys are to other insects.
All right, let's get this centipede in the enclosure. And please don't bite me too. That would be much appreciated. But, oh, he's just gonna go crawl out. Oh, it's actually pretty gentle. Go on. Yep, go crawl out. Go on. Yep, just like that. Oh, yeah.
Now, anyways, this dude immediately got to walking around his enclosure,
Yeah,
and what makes
no,
these
I-
guys so cool is obviously how many legs they have. They're called centipedes because centa means 100, and they basically got like 100 legs. But not exactly 100, because I
killing
actually
it.
did count how many legs this guy had, and it was only 40. So yeah, their name is a lie, it's not 100, but I mean, it's still a lot.
It's so cool to watch these guys walk around.
40?
But
That's a
it's
fucking
even
lie.
cooler to watch them eat. So you already know, I got a cricket. And let's not waste any time. Let's drop this thing in here.
And oh, things immediately were interesting because I dropped the cricket directly next to the centipede's face, but thankfully for the cricket, the centipede was distracted, and so the cricket walked straight past his face and kind of just walked onto his body. And then he kind of just started to ride it like a train. Dang, bro, you gotta be careful because this train is, well, it's definitely about to eat you, bro. I'm just gonna be honest. And I was correct because only 30 seconds later, the centipede once again came across the cricket, and this time the centipede definitely saw him. him. And so the centipede started to follow in the direction the cricket ran. And so I also followed the centipede with my camera, and that's when I saw the two met again. And this time the centipede made his attack. The cricket tried to escape through the logs, but as I looked around the corner, it's pretty clear the cricket wasn't able to escape because he was now in the grasp of this insane apex predator of the desert.
Look at it. Look at the poison. There's poison right there. Wait.
Insane apex.
It's right here. Yeah, look. It's right here. Holy shit.
Desert and was getting munched up. Good job, centipede. Even though you are a little bit creepy, it's actually super cool to watch you hunt. Okay, we're coming up on the world's largest beetle and testing how strong they are. However, I still gotta show you the next crazy insect pet on the list, which is a giant millipede.
Now, the reason I'm showing a millipede right after showing the centipede is because they're very similar in a lot of ways, but they're also very different in a lot of ways.
Now, the first way they're different is, well, you know how centipedes have that absolutely bonkers bite like I was talking about? That's just extremely painful. Well, millipedes are basically the exact opposite, and they're some of the most friendliest creatures of all time.
And to demonstrate that, I'm gonna let this thing crawl on me. And oh my gosh, the sensation of like these 300 tiny little legs crawling on my hand is just so weird. I don't even know how to describe it.
But if I had to, I would just say it's a very tickly, because as you can see, each one of the legs on the millipede is almost kind of sharp, which lets it get a really good grip with what it's standing on. But yeah, it's just such a weird feeling. I even let this guy crawl on this cool snake plushie I had sitting around. And wait a second, this isn't any ordinary snake. But they support this video. I balled out and got the most massivest millipede of all time, called a giant African millipede, which isn't really a very creative name. They just kind of said it's giant, where it's from, and that it's a millipede. But yeah, I'm not gonna complain. I guess it's easy to remember.
Now, there's just one problem, because the place I bought this from specifically said in the description, do not use cocoa fiber. Now, if you didn't know, cocoa fiber is basically like the holy grail of dirt for terrarium builders. It's just like a special kind of dirt that holds humidity very well, I guess. But yeah, it's like unheard of to not use this in a build. Like I've literally never made a build without this. Like, what the heck, bro?
So since cocoa fiber was all I had, I drove to the greatest store of all time behind Walmart, Petco, of course. And there I got the special kind of dirt that is not cocoa fiber, but I also got some of this mulch stuff, which is like wood chips, and a bit of moss.
This isn't just research, it's ClickUp chat. Sure, you can tag your team.
But for the secret ingredient for the millipede tank, it's this thing, which I'll show you very soon. So when I got back home, I started mixing together all my new dirt materials. All these materials I chose are specifically designed to hold just as much moisture as the cocoa fiber, if not more, which as you can see, makes this super duper moisty.
All right, it's perfect that it's now super wet, because if it was too dry, the millipede would not survive very long. They dry out super easily. So yeah, I'll have to spray this thing a lot to make sure it's always nice and moist.
But since we have to keep this so wet, mold might actually grow on the sides of the enclosure. That's where my secret ingredient comes in.
I got springtails. Now, if you've seen my other videos, you probably don't think it's that cool, but bruh, I mean, I still think they're cool, okay? Be free, boys.
Yeah, springtails are just these super tiny white bugs that will go around and clean up mold if it grows. So yeah, they're perfect.
Oh shit.
Finally, I just put in some tiny bits of...
They were in there? They were in there?
Cool, okay? Be free, boys.
Yeah, springtails are just these super tiny white bugs that will go around and clean up mold if it grows. So yeah, they're perfect. Finally, I just put in some tiny bits of cork bark around to decorate the place and add some cover.
There we go. This is a fantastical millipede enclosure. Let's go ahead and get this guy inside. Be free, boy. I hope you like your new home. Spent a long time on it. Well, I only spent like 10 minutes on it, but yeah, I hope you like it.
Anyways, after he felt comfortable enough, he uncurled up from his ball and got to exploring around his enclosure. Now, there's not really much to talk about with these guys, unfortunately, because they kind of just walk around and don't do much else. The main thing that makes them cool and also similar to centipedes is the crazy amount of legs they have. And the average millipede has a way more legs than a centipede, as you can see. Very nice. Yeah, my guy just wandered around the enclosure for like 30 minutes, but eventually, once he feels comfortable enough, he'll start to burrow under the floor like you could see in this footage. And he'll basically just chill there for like 90% of his life, just eating the dead organic matter or something. I don't really know, but yeah, they're pretty cool. Anyways, next up on the list, I actually got something very interesting I've never showed on the channel before. A vinegaroon.
This is the closest thing to a mutant creature on Earth I think there is. And it's extremely cool. I'll show you why.
Yeah, you heard that right. a mutant creature. And the reason I say that is because look at this thing. It straight up has the body and claws of a scorpion, a tail that looks like a rat tail, and these weird antenna things that lobsters have. Yeah, this thing is weird.
But probably the weirdest thing about this creature is in its name, because it's called a vinegaroon, and if you separate the words in there, there's vinegar and oon.
Now, I don't know what the oon part of its name means, to be honest, but the reason it has a vinegar in its name is because this creature has the ability, when threatened, to arch its back up and shoot a special acid type of vinegar out of it to spray all over the threat, potentially blinding them so the vinegaroon can get away. And yeah, it's pretty crazy.
And I'll be showing you guys exactly what that looks like. Let's get him in his enclosure so we can show it off. This one should work pretty well.
Now, the build is pretty simple for these guys, and thankfully I can use cocoa fiber again. Phew. But yeah, I filled about 1/3 of the way up with dirt, and then I scattered some pieces of wood and bark around. This time I wanted to add some greenery, so I tore up bits of this moss and spread that around. I love this stuff because while it might look pretty dry right now, all it needs is a nice little spray to come back to life. And yeah, this stuff will just grow super fast over time as long as I keep this enclosure nice and moist.
Anyways, Mr. Vinegaroon, this is your new home. Hopefully you like it. Let me just gently release you. Go on, can you walk out? Ooh. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry.
And yeah, immediately after putting this dude inside, he ran straight up to the glass to get a nice little drink of water off the droplets sitting there. It was pretty cool to see him using his claws to shovel the drops of water into his mouth. So yeah, dang, I guess he was pretty thirsty.
Oh yeah, bro, I almost forgot. Let me get a water dish in there. Dude, that guy was thirsty. He instantly went and tried to get some water, so I'm just gonna go put that one nice in the corner.
So yeah, I filled that up with a bit of water. With creatures like vinegaroons, you want to make sure their water dishes are very shallow, because they're not super smart. If their water dish was too deep, they might fall in and drown. So yeah. But anyways, my guy was having a lot of fun exploring around his new enclosure.
All right, now I want to check out if this guy's gonna try and eat. Maybe he'll even shoot his acid, I don't know, but they are nocturnal, so yeah, I mean, he might not even eat at all. But you already know, I got a little cricket. Crickets love me, obviously. Let's drop this guy in. Bye-bye.
I dropped a cricket directly next to the vinegaroon, so some action could theoretically happen right away. But if you've seen my other videos with nocturnal animals like scorpions, you'd probably know that they straight up just like to not eat during the day. Yeah, they'd rather let insects crawl right next to their mouth instead of eating them, apparently. But with this vinegaroon, it was a different story, because right after a minute of the cricket standing next to him, I noticed he actually started to strike towards the cricket to actually try and eat it. That means this vinegaroon was in hunting mode. And the next time the cricket came by, I noticed the vinegaroon use his little antenna to locate the location of the cricket, and then he walked over to strike it again. But unfortunately, he also missed.
I know that. The long ass ad.
There's a Harbor Freight store in your neighborhood where we sell hard-working tools that always work.
Once again. However, a bit later, I noticed that the vinegaroon had found the little water dish I put in there for him. He then proceeded to walk into the water to take a little bath, and I guess he was getting a bit more of a drink too, but the cricket was directly next to him still. And when the two creatures got a little bit closer, the vinegaroon once again struck. He missed, but this time he was not going to give up and chased the cricket down to finally get a hold of it, all while splashing around in the water. But dang, we now had an absolutely delicious, juicy cricket in his grasp, and yeah, he just started devouring it. Good catch, bro. I was not expecting that during the day.
Now, unfortunately, he didn't use his acid vinegar spray thing, and that's because I think they only use that for defense, and obviously I don't want to stress this guy out, so I'm not going to force him to do it, but I will show you guys this very cool footage of them doing it. Watch this.
So basically, like I was saying earlier, they arch their abdomen up, aim their tail up too, and boom, the vinegar sprays out right there. It's pretty cool to see it spray out, and it also has absolutely insane aim. Like here, the vinegaroon was able to spot on, hit the tweezers that was holding it. So basically, any sort of predator in the wild will know not to mess with this thing if it gets sprayed. It's a genius ability from the vinegaroon. But yeah, I put a lid on this enclosure, and boom, this is a pet vinegaroon. Now it's time for the real reason we're here, to test how strong beetles really are. And of course, I have the largest beetle species in the world. But I also have this one with insanely sharp mandibles, and this one that's pretty tiny, but it also has mandibles as well.
well. Now, I'll be starting with the smallest beetle and testing the weakest objects in this guy's mouth. As the beetles get bigger, the objects will get bigger too. Until at the end, I'm gonna be putting my finger in this guy's mouth. Thankfully, though, I get to start with this little guy. It's a lot nicer.
This is called a rainbow stag beetle. And while it's the smallest beetle I have, it's still pretty insane looking, because if you look very closely, it actually is a shiny purple color. There's not that many animals that have a purple color like this, so yeah, it's pretty cool. And I already built this guy a little enclosure, so I put him inside. Even though this place is pretty small, that's exactly how they like it, because they kind of just chill around all day and don't really move much.
Now, the first object I'm going to test with this guy is a little pack of jelly. Technically, this won't test their strength, but I just want to show you how they eat, because it's actually pretty interesting.
Now, beetles like this are cool, because while they got their mandibles here, this is actually not their mouth. Their mouth is actually under the mandibles or right here. So yeah, that's where they eat. The reason they have mandibles is so in the wild, the males can fight each other, and whoever wins the fight gets to go home with the female beetle. It's pretty interesting. But anyways, I went and put the jelly right in front of this guy. And these guys love sweet stuff like jelly or fruit. And in fact, I think this jelly is banana flavored, which is one of the beetle's favorite foods. So I thought this dude was just gonna start devouring it up right away. But in fact, he seemed kind of defensive and actually started attacking it with his mandibles. But after I really kind of started to shove it in his face, I think he got a little taste of it, and then he seemed very happy because he actually started to then eat it, and it's actually very cool to see how their mouth works. Yeah, he really just sucked all the juices out of this thing.
So let's close this for now, and let's actually go and get out our second beetle, which is this guy, and he has way bigger mandibles.
This is called a giraffe stag beetle. So yeah, this is also a stag beetle like the one before, but a slightly different version with these way larger mandibles that, if you actually look at them, are also way sharper. And yeah, they should be able to easily crush stuff way stronger than the previous beetle. And of course, I already got this dude's enclosure built, so I put him in as well.
All right, now for the object for this guy to crush, I've got a little piece of cardboard. Oh, also, I'm gonna take the beetle out of the enclosure for this experiment. Let's go.
So I didn't waste any time, and I just went and put this piece of cardboard in this dude's mandibles. And he sort of started to close his mandibles on it, but I'm not gonna lie, it was a kind of lackluster effort. I even tried putting it in at different angles to see if he could actually crush it, but yeah, he wasn't really doing a good job. So I decided to give him an easier object to crush, a paper towel. Surely he could at least make a hole through this with his insanely sharp mandibles. But yet again, even after putting it right at the super sharp part, yeah, he didn't really make much of an impact, to be honest.
Bruh, nah, these beetles got the most intimidating mandibles. Oh, he just almost bit me. But bruh, you can't even bite through cardboard or even a paper towel, bro. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. What are these mandibles for? You can't even bite through this stuff? No, I'm just kidding. No, these are actually insane creatures. They're super cool. Let me get this guy back in his enclosure. Anyways, what I'm really excited about is testing this bad boy's bite. Well, I mean, I'm not actually that excited. I do gotta put my finger in here, but let's just do this.
Yep, it's finally time for the craziest and also largest beetle in the world. A Hercules beetle.
You guys have no idea how hard it was for me to get my hands on one of these. They were out of stock everywhere, and I had to message so many people, but I finally did. It was super expensive, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, these guys live in the South American rainforests, and unlike other beetles in this video, they literally have fur on them. Yeah, that's how you know they're exotic. So that's not even mentioning they have these absolutely bonkers mandibles. Cause of what? The mandibles are basically like double the size of the body.
And I got a pretty solid sized enclosure for this guy, but I'll once again be doing this test outside the tank since they're so massive.
Your kids like risotto?
Yes.
Now, before I put my finger in the mandibles, I first got something very close to a finger to find out the real damage I was about to face.
Yeah, I got a carrot, because, you know, whenever I see videos of people, like, testing their fingers and stuff like car door windows or something, they always use a carrot first as, like, a good representation of what it's like before a finger. Bro, imagine he just chops clean through this carrot, and then I'm gonna have to put my finger in right after that. Jeez.
Anyways, I went and put the carrot in the mandibles without wasting any time. And guys, to be honest, I was kind of expecting this to rip through the carrot because they just look vicious. But after moving the carrot over tons of different parts of the mandibles, the most the beetle did was give a very light pinch to the carrot. And yeah, all it took was a bit of wiggling to get the carrot out.
Bruh, wait a second. I'm not even scared to do this anymore. Yo, that thing barely affected this carrot. I'm just gonna put my finger in right now. Hercules beetle, you don't even scare me. Let's do
do this. So without wasting time, I just put my finger in. Found the perfect position to get pinched in the best way, and then the beetle started to close his horn mandibles down a bit. But I'm gonna be completely honest, this basically felt like nothing.
I mean, yeah, it's a little bit of a pinch, but it is not bad at all. Now you might be thinking, bruh, TerraGreen, what was that? This thing is so weak. And well, I actually kind of knew it was gonna be that weak, I'm not gonna lie. You see, the reason I got all these insects I wanted to make this video was to actually show you guys something. And it was to show you all that many of these insects like this beetle might look scary. They're actually such cool and fascinating creatures that we have to show our respect to. And yeah, I mean, some of them are definitely deadly and you do kind of want to stay away from them, like the centipede, but still they're so cool. And yeah, hopefully I showed you that with this video. And remember guys, check out the new TerraGreen plushies that just